Now, our stock of the day, in fact, Scott, you were talking about baby in the bathwater. Maybe let's talk about baby and the milk. We're looking at the infant formula segment with a viewer asking our experts for their views. Given the shortages in the US, Bubs' endorsement from the US president, in fact, Joe Biden there tweeting that 27.5 million bottles of safe infant formula manufactured by Bubs Australia coming to the US. That equates to about 1 million cans. Bubs' share price, well, as a result, spiked around 50% yesterday and then came off a little. It is down today. Europe, it's already starting to stand emergency supplies as those shortages caused by, in part, Abbott Labs' recall in February. And A2 Milk saying it's standing by to assist the US government in the crisis, leveraging its current fresh milk distribution in the US. Of course, it's focused on China, and it submitted an application to the US Food and Drug Administration last week. So both those stocks coming off in this morning's trade. Bubs, of course, that huge jump yesterday, it's off about 6.5%. So, Scott, what are you thinking about this segment at the moment then?
Andrew, it's a great question. I think the hardest thing for shareholders and for investors in general is looking at two different parts of the same story. The first is the fundamental underpinnings of the stock or the business. The second is the share price. And those aren't always the same thing. We say on one hand, hey, the Yanks are taking our infant, isn't that great? Maybe we should buy shares. As you've already said, that was 50% ago. You don't get a chance to trade on the way through unless you get inside information. We don't want to spend any time at Her Majesty's pleasure, so let's not do that. The only question simply is, what did we know before? What do we know now? And at 50-ish% more, is it still good value? I think that's the hardest part. Seems obvious in hindsight. If you could buy at Friday's price, of course you would. We don't get that opportunity, so we have to buy at today's price if we're buying at all. The challenge is we don't know for how long the US will take Bubs. Is this the beginning of a new brand preference? I think it possibly is. We know that generally speaking, mums and parents in general tend to be super brand loyal when it comes to infant formula. When a kid starts on it, they generally like the same taste, the same flavour. It's always easier to give your child the same infant formula rather than try and chop and change. So that's positive for Bubs, potentially for A2 as well. On the other hand, is all of it priced in already? 50% more in terms of value. That's a lot more when you think about, the opportunity that either A, presents itself, or B, might be a flash in the pan. Is Bubs, in the market in a year's time, in 2 years' time? Is there meaningful distribution? Is this the beginning of something great, or is it a one-off flash in the pan? We know full well. I'll talk about tech stocks as we open the program. Think about what happened last year. When a market goes cold, it goes very cold very quickly. I'm going to say, again, get the opportunity to buy it Friday morning's price. Of course, you take it. Right now, I don't think there's enough obvious value in Bubs in particular, just because you don't know. It's a lottery ticket right now. You could come back with your tail between your legs. If you lose that 50% gain, that's a 1/3 loss back to where it used to be. That's very possibly where you are in a year's time. Or maybe the shares double from here. There's a sentiment question, of course, on top of that, which is why I mentioned the share price, not just the business. I do like A2 Milk. I think A2's got more potential long-term, not in America, but more broadly. I think it's worth more than the current share price anyway. So irrespective of whether or not it gets the call up from President Biden or his administration, I do like the A2 story generally. It's been a really tough time for A2. That provides some opportunity, I think, for patient investors. But a big open question. So yeah, look, I'm giving Bubs a miss, not because I dislike the company, just because I think there's already too much speculation on the share price now. Maybe it goes high, maybe it doesn't. I don't think anyone can really know, so that's why it's pure speculation land. But I do like A2.
Okay, all right. Chris, your thoughts then on those two?
Yeah, just leveraging what Scott said, I think he asked the perfect question. Is this a one-shot deal, or is this something that's likely to be a consistent opportunity for these players moving forward? Just some context is important here. Understanding why this deal with the US happened, it's because Abbott Laboratories, their manufacturing plant in Michigan, spat out some formula that needed to be recalled and was ultimately shut down. But it will reopen soon. The other moving part here is that the deal with Bubs is not the only action that the US government has taken. The Department of Health and Human Services has allowed one of the big commodities traders, Cargill, to provide more raw materials to all of the infant formula producers, invoking the Defence Production Act. So they are taking multiple steps to solve this problem. Bubs is just one small part. In the grand scheme of things, 1.25 million tins to the United States is very small in the broader context. So peeling all that away, again, like I was saying, the context is important. And just looking at the share prices of both of these companies, in July 2020, A2 Milk was $20. It's now $4.70. and in July 2019, Bubs was around $1.60. It's now 65 cents. So very clearly, aside from anything else, both of these companies have had a tough time of it. And I believe this is just a one-shot deal. I don't think this changes fundamentally the story for either of these companies, and therefore the whole move is already priced in. So I wouldn't be chasing after it based on what we've seen with the Bubs deal in the US.
All right. Would you be holding it, particularly if you had Bubs?
No, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
No, if I had Bubs previously, I'd probably be selling it and taking the profit, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't be interested in buying either of these stocks at the moment. Yeah.
Fair enough.